in the right direction. So therefore, such a moment and occasion is a great opportunity, and I consider this meetings and these sessions as a very important and significant for both you as well as myself for giving this opportunity.
Tende songzang ngaranzo chue tamji temjin jawan jungwa je paten chuten da jigla jiten da tende imba songzang soso jibo ngene kake che tuya mudus tende imba songzang di ngene chane ge taring ko kokap de di ngaranzo ge di chuecho di tangche ana chuecho len jawa jenge ngaranzo chuecho lens ge ube chuecho lenje changma ge kokam dende chi tumba de la mise ge sem gawashi undola tuji chesku yins.
As you know, everything is interdependent, and the very examples of our gathering here shows how we were so interdependent. With that, I would like to thank the organizer, Brother Lens, and as well as the temple for providing this opportunity, and as well as all of you who come here. Myself alone can't do anything, but it is well, thanks to all of you. There are so many parts involved in making this possible, which is an example of how our life is interdependent.
Ane patring nganzongone ngama ngaranso ko zoche de ngaranso din sangyos chushol kodurje ngone tane jangxie che ya ane ngaranso rangyin roso changma ke jikjil lobje len ya jikjil kodop ere che ya nyamnyung dende ke thone ane phacho jelen yins dende yimba songza dia jelen dia ngone thane samji chongden de shaja thuba choke nyamnyung phusung chope ke soso ke nyamnyung phusung cho chawi jela ngarang chol malanga tension joge ane demba shi kol shia rawa dende koto pere che rawa ngan so halebe ko ka zambo hibjire sangyos.
So I wish that this session will be more of an interactive and exchange of views and idea based on Lord Buddha's teachings of Four Noble Truths. And so we will share our experiences, and we will share our own insights, our own understandings, and we will make it an interactive sessions.
Ane demba shi che ane demba shi nyamso langi ke lam phalang yana je de ko ngan so ta trin zo che shu mu de training de te kan yins.
So the discussion revolves mainly on the Four Noble Truths and then the eightfold path.
Ane tende inde ngan so nanju brother Lens nyam do che ngan so chodo so zongling nana tende chodere zongling nana chonge mangboji di pedere ane te maying baya Quran pene skidingi jere kamdang arang ngone thane ke soso ke kanyu jin ko soso ke jaya da soso ke sem cho jaya da tende nangyo rest tende imba songza arang so kodude haru buru chen tende yongare wa jagyos.
So I encourage all of you to pitch in to share your thoughts. We have people who are on Zoom as well as right here in the audience. So feel free to bring up any thoughts, any views and sharings you would like to have. So feel free to come bring it up at any time during the session.
Konamba chodan tenge kodu chebe nyamnyong la tene susole ina loje mambo hiwra nyong de yos temba sonza chetan kodu senge te tangarang so tege pe mesi pento hiwing dos.
So I view that interactive session discussions is always very important in understanding and debriefing, and myself also learn from a lot from questions and from discussions, and it has been my experience as well when I was doing the teachings and in the Zoom interactions as well.
Yeah, that chetan tandang anso nyanga chashu roji tandang ya zibe lo ni tong ngaja tuja kona ana dacha tamba haja thupa singe chik ana ngarang so lumbine ko tang che ne ana khori ke shenu ko kala chi ngone tane ke jutse da wote so chama de phusong chobo ane chi ngarang so gwe ko gwenko ko penjon da cha ya pa ina kona jabo rile che che ne jabo ke chi yo gwe ke ji te mal gwe ke 튠지 표선 소바 차상지 여대에 갑된데 지라 주모다 제보다 참을려 당지는 코랑 안에 도스전에 까버지에지네 상지에 손조 상지 샤자 투바게 안에 디고들 코리게네 망가랑 솔라 럽잖아 존재 럽자디 콜더니 치거와스.
So just imagine that 2,500, 600 years ago, there was this prince, Shakya, who were born in Lumbini, and then in his youth, he was very skilled in art, and he was an artist and has possessed so many skills. And then as a prince of a king, he has all the luxuries of life, and then reputations and fame and everything, but he chose to give up everything, all the worldly possessions, worldly fames, and then pursued the path, and then he came to a realizations of what is enlightenment and so on. So today our teaching is based on his realizations after his enlightenment.
Ane kyasuche tanda samje ngarancho sakadawata dawa tagarang redora kawa sambachila. Sakadawi tsepa shiti tsepa chuanga dela penda shibe tsepa chuanga dela samje chene ta samje sedu kandrechila segore nganso ti shingwaya de ngone nyanga chambo shewjire shas. Ane 제장 삼지에서도 류당 나당 아람서 미기라 용야의 준용사대 류가 이송강의 준의 용거로와 다 삼지에서도 잠반 류가 이송의 준 참마지에 매버전에 참마 장장전에 단나 괴야의 연된대로 아람서 연된다 샴바다 제와 대초 참마된 원에 단에 때배된 아람서 신도를 양아 제번나시 또 제등에 된대직 차전에는 고 Sanjis Charwas.
So we are observing, even this month is the holy month of Sagadawar, and on the month of holy Sagadawar, on 15th, Lord Buddha become enlightened. So what is enlightenment? Enlightenment, in a brief, what it means is that someone who has purified himself completely of his body, his speech, and his mind, and then attains the this thing enlightenment. These things achieved all these perfections, and then he had all the knowledge and the wisdoms that anyone can possibly ever achieve. So, and that's how. That's what enlightenment is.
Ane chezang sanje khori sanje chawatam shambada zewange ane ngene thane ke tambu muyu khoraya dungye seya de ngo yapochi thwechene deji seya de dungye seya de dorguya de karime so lengguya de dugguya de karime yaporje chembi ke thone sanje so che tadi kunun de tambo nene ngarang so roa me tam dunro socha yenche sama jinju ke goya de deji rai bache mogoya de dungye rai bache te imba de chembi ke thone ta deso ke dungye seya de tam deji duya de la ta suso ke thalam ji ke thone rogo yamba sonza thalam ti tengo sane so
Lord Buddha achieved enlightenment, and once he enlightened, the very purpose of his enlightenment is also to help dispel the sufferings of mankind. And so once he became enlightenment, he is full of compassion and he is full of love, and he is there to expel our sufferings, to guide us how we can achieve ultimate happiness and how we can avoid sufferings. So the first things after Buddha achieved enlightenment, he wanted to guide his disciples how to reach that ultimate happiness. And with that goal, he started doing the teachings. His first teachings after enlightenment was the Four Noble Truths.
Yeah, today into Mansoke Demba Shiga Kola Lojon Chedi Zambane Manshida of the Masona Sosola Semla Tuwa Kashi Chukwe and Tendek Tony Demba Shil Lojon the Chegudo Sangudos.
So when we study the Four Noble Truths, the best way to realize, understand it is with some questions, like some fundamental questions, and then we will be able to untangle and understand it in a more comprehensive ways.
Chezang tende cheunde chambane tambonda wachi ngaranso samno karat tangu yersana dembar shi seade kandrasini chungwa re seade demba shigu kol kecha de kandrasi chungwa re launde chambane yang ngaranso samno chik tangu yer chigla chi dembar shi seade ngaranso ke chin jiten ko ba bo chi zeja re tan se azonda chi te to de yinji meji sosol le gu dos.
So the first thing we need to ask is how come this Four Noble Truths? Did it created by creators, or how, what's the idea of behind this Four Noble Truths, and how it ever come into existence, and why the foundational teachings is based on this Four Noble Truths?
That niba dela ngaranso demba shigi nilu de anan zambuling de kana ana tambo suiten bare seachi te yinji meji suso ga tachi lojon chedi chamane kadin tiya ke chedo nepa to samno tango dos.
And then who has shown to this world that there is this Four Noble Truths, and who guided with this wisdom? It's important to appreciate and reflect on that.
Ta suiten bare la ti jela ta ane sasho kawala tembares ne kando tembares yati.
And so who were the whose idea was this, and then where did he started to propagating, or he started guiding or teaching those Four Noble Truths?
Ane tenene tambu tendi zambane tensa ke kor ngaranso chi nyamdo de dwelling chesa senra sen mare ma o tensa ko khonda wode kanza kandre chi le tembares.
So we have to wonder, like, who were the first audience of the Four Noble Truths?
Ane tende ko tende chi le tendi zambane ta sanji ke song za chembo tende chi tendi zambane nganso kadu ina lojon chenge ane rinlang thone taji chene chi res lawa ta nyam do re khar sen ro yang ye mayin be repeat lane taji chene rongi ke me de so ke ane lojon khadu ne che de chambane samji ke sonra ina ya lamsan tagarang cheman jingu ge rewe se ya de nganso samji ke son yin ba son zang o samji ke son yin za o tagarang re se ne rogu ge rewe se ya de nganso twa pe chembo chag dos.
And so we also should be able to think critically, and because it is said by Buddha, should that be hold up to us the standard barrier of truth or so? So we should have that inquiry mind and should be able to critically analyze and think whether it should be accepted or should not.
Tende yimba songtang, ane samji ki demba shi ki namsha de song tsawi je la, ane demba shi ki lojong dawa de tacha de ma, tene ne 단다 봐도라 나랑서 다들인 뎀바시고 콜라 드링체 코코 디파도라 하는 거랑서 딩시라 로존 제비기 주림 다르첩 데 간데스 중요 메시아 데 강랑서 상당고 두스.
So Lord Buddha taught this Four Noble Truth 2,500, 600 years ago, and since then it has been interpreted, discussed, and how it evolved up to today, and even up to today it is debated and studied. So it's important to reflect on that evolution of these studies.
다 텐데 임바 송자 개체슈데 나랑서 매당 제나 빼나 든로 간다 남시 여딩에게 초라 여딩에게 순다지 임바이나야 괴데 가르고거서나 초칼나 평연데 구고여레스 초칼 겐센데 쥐엔데 파메바 차고 혀레스 텐데 임바 송자 댕길로 로존 제바이나 겐센 가르여레 펜도 가르여레스야 돼.
So all living beings, those who have feelings and senses, will have these thoughts in mind as what is the benefit of study Four Noble Truth? What is the use of knowing the Four Noble Truth? And then at the same time, once you realize the benefits and then how it is going to help you, that will be important steps.
Yeah, then it tamadela and to a gupadi in the Dangela Lojum Majebaina and Aransolo Chungu Karadi Gures, Nurjun Karayun de Gures yate to a gupache tamadi.
So another question is what will be missed out if we fail to study the Four Noble Truth? What will be the drawback or what will be the disadvantage of not learning and understanding the Four Noble Truths?
Oh, that the basic to under the mangi get to under good of it. Then they get some tangent and to dig on the donji jatuya tashis.
Yes, so with those fundamental questions, we will try to reach to conclusions.
Any the jetelang around so young, Susoka Kari, Gunguduna, Tetan David again, to it, Yamdong announce Yamako Duchi Choches.
Yes, and we will have plenty of time for interactions based on each of your understanding and learnings from the sessions.
Chezang Tadi Tua Tambodi, Tua Tambodi, Dember Shit in Jitin Kopapi, Zue Yortan, Suretan, Sia Tigana, Samutan de Zamane, Te Nanzogi, Semnamo, Link, Geshe Karatosena, Naranzo Shulok, Jodan, Jebuk, Rotan, Tusi, Shinju Che in the Zamane, Mupo Kandeji Imbaina, Trutan de Jodan, Jebuk, Trutanji, Matochi, Peneji, Dopkanachi, Wejalena Shichen, Suyaji, Meva de Tanganzoge, Shojine, Rapando Shetanchena, Tonshius to the race.
So, what the first question is: did the Four Noble Truth was designed by one something, or is it created by someone single-handedly? So that's the first question. But what we need to understand, the reality is for everything there is a cause and effect. And it is a result of a cause and effect. And Four Noble Truth did not just come out of a blue. So it came to exist and taught by Lord Buddha because of certain cause and effects.
Tende imba songzang, ta demba shi de, tende sue shayaji mewa imba songzang, demba shi ge chutang de, ta ngarang sola tanda chu de ya de, dunge demba tang, kunju demba ni de ngarang sola, ta me phepan rawa chik cha shan ta, ngarang sola nyom de ya de, dunge demba ta kunju demba de, ngarang sola ta tanda yung shimba res, ju kunju demba ngon ronen rebu dunge demba, nawa ta, cawa ta, chik ngarang sola namshi ta, tende ke chenpe ta, chik Karena khala satang ki chenpe ngarang so lob thoja yung de te so ta ane chi ngarang so karena ne chi suso gu drugu saya de marabe dunge ane chi mende ya de suso kan la le yung ge pe dunge ta chi ngarang so chi kange nang so chi yung de te so chama de ngarang so nyom chu tu de res dunge de ma da kunju de ma ni de.
So the first of the Four Noble Truth, the truth of the cause of sufferings, and the truth of suffering is something that we all are experiencing. And so we will begin with those two.
대체장 나란솔라 동해 덴바도 군주 덴바니 준리 전에 레디여데 이나 난소게 동해 덴베게 주데 단다에 제야 보지 마초 뭐야 보지 마시네 난소 하데요레스.
So we need to understand the causes, and so sometimes we overlook the causes, or we underestimated the causes of the sufferings.
다 되네네 나란소게 람지 덴바세야 되던 고브덴세야 되니 람지 덴바세야 되 나란소게 미기 람시기 시가세난다 미기 람시기 셈세난다 데 짱마 짱장 지제 코랑 쉬운 거 차네 코랑 원에 자네 람지 덴바데 간소게 메다 마소네 초 두마투어 마토 두바이나 코랑라 두야게 체체 차상 참댕이 지 나란소 센짱마 짱장 세야지 마웅발라 두rum 여딩에 나란소 세 주디단 데와 차데샤스.
So the fourth one, the truth of path that leads to the cessation of suffering, is talking about our mind. Our mind is so pure, and it is something that we can accomplish. And so we will talk on that. This
대체원데 안에 만초 최장 람데 생에데 주체 고된 생에데 드부 임바 송상 람데 주된 거로 수소고 주 센짱마텔라 야포 자토바이나 안에 텔란 드부 고된 생에 동에다 패드 트라이엔도에 연조 동에 주다 제발 트렌도에 연조 차대야지 나랑 속에 엔데 제네 상마마 림베 겐도치 땅토로 제바이나 지 리빠다 존생게 토네 따다 투야 연조지.
Yes, so since they are, the mind itself is originally pure, and once we were able to cleanse it, and then it will lead us to the cessation of suffering. So we all have that ultimate potentials in each of us to be able to reach that ultimate goal.
제가 당 암수 단답봐도 떼지지 지금 마시에와다 노르데야다 초데야 망보 용데야데 덴식 닐루 마시에 왕기 중데샤스.
So we might be a little bit of disoriented, and we might be going in the wrong directions, astray, and it is probably because we fail to understand completely the Four Noble Truth. So once we understand the Four Noble Truth and practice them, and then we will be back on the right track.
Oh yeah, today in Basonza, ane dajatomba kadin chinting ta denshik nilude, ane mane tane sese ting ripa da Johnson da nyamnyong tone jar chene ta ngansolo midama sona, ane nganso ke chenga la tusmata chik ped demoteona shi chene ten shayaris.
So the Four Noble Truth is an amazing teachings of the Lord Buddha, and in the Four Noble Truth there is not only there's wisdoms, there's reasonings, and there's experiences of everything that combined, and then he just bestowed it to us as one ultimate package of what needs to be learned and practiced.
Oh, chetan ta de chewonde dembashige nilu zambulin de kana thoma suitembare se tela len jatsawa che anata ne kandijila tembare se de ana jaga ge phegela yowarana se la de zama ne za chembojila dus ten che ana duchen de yongda la penda tupi se shila dus tembare se ne dus yongda che dus.
So the first answer is for the first question is already answered. So who shown or who taught this Four Noble Truth? And so undoubtedly it was Lord Buddha, through his teachings, through his experiences and his reasonings, he came up with this thing. And now the second question is where the Four Noble Truth was taught. And it is in a place called Varanasi in India. and that is where he started teaching this Four Noble Truth.
ane ta tambo ma tendu zaman kho kandri chila tembare se de ta yonra ke kho ngarde sambo se ne tendi chila tembade ane o to singarang so nyamshi ke thone ta hakwa de ji chago yores
Ngadi example na
kho ngade sambo se de zambane tambo ngai nga
yes, so then the next question is who were the audience? Who were the first audience of the Four Noble Truth? And it is called Konga de Sambo, and which means that there were 5 audience to his first teachings of Four Noble Truth.
Ta tene indu zambane samje ge tendeji Konga de Sambo la demba shi se de somba che tende indu 당안소 그 산지게 송바 임바 송장 산지게 송데 다가랑레 체마레 남소 지순 로그레 세야데 레베 세야데 다 저와데 빼 미싱 안소 그 로존 징일 저 빼 첨부 차거도스.
So yes, so the audience, there were this 4 or 5 audience he introduced Four Noble Teachings first, and then now, okay, this is the Four Noble Truth, and should we blindly follow it? Is this the ultimate truth of everything, and should we just blindly follow it, and there shouldn't be any questions? That is the next questions that arises.
ane tende imba sontan daja tengba shaja tuba koran rangi ngwene demba shige nilu ma somba bo koran ngwene karak son yorsana yonda ge chane seje dawi se yinto leba tala ngaye ka langwa chai guishimi insilane o te son yayores.
So when Buddha taught this Four Noble Truth, he has famously said this, that oh my followers, that you don't have to accept because you have to you don't accept because I'm your teachings or masters. You have to examine, test, like you examine if it's a gold or not. You just like cut, rub, and burn. So same thing. Buddha invited critical thinking and critical inquiry in his own teaching. He didn't expect everyone to follow it blindly.
That digi those samotayande seboji karaha kogodesana daja tamba shaja tubaki denshi ge nelu de ma to song de denshi ge nelu de la pento kache che yo me ta ji jesun ro go mo ko de ngaran sola shan tang ge chanen ro me yin be chanen ran che so rawa yo ba de
So what it shows is that when Buddha invited inquiring or critical thinkings and probing his teaching, so what it really shows is that Buddha has given complete freedom to everyone at the very beginning as what they would like to do, follow or not follow. So this is important, that Buddha has given freedom to everyone to choose the path or what they want to do. So giving them freedom is really precious at the very beginning.
Niba de la sanje ke jinju ba de solan rewa chetante yo ta junchu ta ji tinde gi chene ji goko da tan ji ne mitsuk chunu kunjo da tinde maimba. Koran so dedu ge chedo ran so so chu yungu ge yobanda wachi tende jiling menzi chigiyos.
And the Buddha did not wanted his followers to follow him blindly, and he also did not resort to any kind of cunning methods to draw them to his sides. So what he did is purely to help them to dispel their sufferings and help them to realize it, help them to see it by themselves, giving them freedoms and liberties.
Ta tenene ke cheshu de one tane seje dawe se jinto sela tsambane se yapoji susolo ragu yona se de la hinju chene ji hinju chedenji chene se yapote ragu na shi chene ngarang so ngone tani phuk dechi chi ragu yena ta ngone tani suso ke meli ramche su yo be ripa chambo de peche tangche ne ane kagir tambo lojong de che ne che chawe je la ane ngarang so cho jula choi kale jayar te ane sanje ke lamte te na ya dos.
So like when we test whether it's a pure gold or not, we use burn, cat, and then rub. So same thing, Buddha invited everyone to do the same thing. And so for what Buddha really taught is like how to achieve ultimate happiness. So how to achieve ultimate happiness is, first of all, Buddha believed that we all have a human intelligence. So use that intelligence and then to studies the theoretical knowledge and the foundational ideas, and then experience oneself. So using those three things, intelligence and then study and then experience it.
Ngolaso. Tende cheun de tsambane ane chezang tenene ma demba yela chwa dumba chi tenene chezang mer ripa chambo jonsen la gabo shinjul gabo ane when tane rilam philosophy lagdo dik kan ra hinju chen ro ding ka ane dengje la lojong ka tapcha de khande chung yo resena ane jaga ge pe nalen ra sene tenene mar chene ane ngarang so chik nambe ge jekha mangbor pe ngarang so ta jagal tapcha tenene peyul tapcha tene peyul tapcha ane tenene pa ta jekha mangbo chore te sama hyomu go aje te cho kan la ane pe denshil Shinju chamjang chene Quran so ya te mangbo tri deb de so de Shinju chene tri yang jo tende ge na lojong de ta tanda padu le de ores.
So since Buddha's teaching, then his subsequent disciples, all what they have done is studied the Four Noble Truths. They researched, they studied, and we in India we have the famous Nalinda traditions of Buddhism studies, as well as the Buddhism's spread through many other Asian countries like Sri Lanka and all adjacent to Nepal, to Tibet, to China, and so on. So all of them, what they have been doing is study the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths is the foundational ideas of Buddhism teachings. And what they all have been doing is a further elaboration, elucidations of the Four Noble Truths, what it is.
That tende yamba songza ngarang so nyanyong pyosong chobe sanje da tenene mangwene tane lori jangsong zombe ke shechen tamba mangbo chi ke denge la lojong che tende che unde ta ngarang so ma dus le unde denge la lojong che ne nekab ke gensen kar yore phuk gensen kar yore sia te kana anso ke te sano ta ta khotu go dos.
And then, as we are studying Four Noble Truths, what we need to think about it is what is the temporary benefits of learning this Four Noble Truths, and what would be the ultimate benefits of the studying these Four Noble Truths.
Tige tuwa tige le tis yama all yung chowa che denge la lojong chepe ke phen te ta denge la lojong ma chepe ke ne chen sia tige tangarang so ti o tu chen wol ma jebo da chi tige che ke da chi yos ngarang so khasa gutu da chi.
So we will elaborate on it more in our subsequent discussions, the benefits, the temporary and the short-term and the long-term benefits of studying the Four Noble Truths.
Ta tende cheon de tsambane ngarang so soso ge tos chene mese tela mi mangbo chi ge shetang ge ngarang so cha sha baina mese di te go ge ba sonza mese tela dong ji ja go res ane pen cha sha baina soso ge meche chetan de lo jeju guju dende chi nanglo la tsin da chi jab che ne ane chi penjo khodu che ina re ane chi suso ga ta meche ndela chi debo da chibo chi che do la kangi mayun chi che do la manso ge chi shawa mangbo chi du che ne dong chi jagu yo res.
So we all we were born and then we live a life, right? So we live a life, and each of us want to draw a conclusion on our own life as how we led of life. Maybe we live up to 80 years, 90 years, 100 years. And so basically all of us, we will tend to do is to do things that will help us to live a more happier life and try to avoid suffering. So that is the basic things that everyone's trying to do.
And shetan ngarang gongshin da waji chasha bayina nasha jundo shetan me chamal kuisha yobache te kan me gemba de solo mise ku kuisha ta te nane cha me gemba nyangnyong phison chopo yodenge ke ane chi meche de ngone tane ke lepe nyengo ke tende ke chi shawa mangbo du chanjo ke tende ke me jase phomo yewa me ban tende le chi me pe ta ya de so ke namju ke gongshin da waji ins.
Yes, I respect everyone, and particularly elderly persons, because who have so much experiences in life and have gone through life, and they, along with that longevity of life, they have acquired so much wisdom and experiences.
Tende yimba songza, ta nganso ke mig meche singe joro, mig meche singe de la sho jil zi jabdu ne ta ringbo hiwanda bachi, ringbo hiwanda bachi. Sho jil so so ke meche yan ro chanjo de la zi ji jawande ne lo daga tanda lele pado ro chanjo de la samuch tang de nilang songda de yang chenbo ji re de shas.
So when we look at our life, in one way, we think life is pretty long. But then on another way, if you just look up what you have done or the life that was already past you, it seems to be very short, like it was just happened yesterday.
Yeah, tende cheonde ta milu dil ma soso ke tanda lu lende de che te da nyam do le kin ke ma tambo ne che ni cheonde zamba ne kin yon jo ke nam shi de che ane khoyu de che de che de che de chol ji down de ta ngone chane ke soso ke meche de rin thang yo be meche rin thang yo be meche ke chen bu shou ji thong do.
So did you enjoy something?
제단 다 단단한 도스제도 소소소소를 신주지 제원도 소소그 물류세가 매게 로봇 자천부터제 대단냠도 소소를 막힌 저게 남시바게 상노세야 지체 대단냠도 식코유되제 안에 지게 되쳐되제 던데지를 상노 땅인데 잠반에 소소게 물류대 자천부 쇼지 초고도스.
So when you look at how we were come into beings, like our formation of our bodies, we coming on this earth, and then we all have our senses, our awareness, and then the environment in which we were born, as well as these things, the surrounding and so on. So when you look at it all, human life is definitely a very precious life.
텐데 제온데 잠바네 아니 상제기 원에 말한서 물리싱에 되라 아니 림보체세네 단조그 물리림보체세네 나는 좀 시단도 제바이는 세다 우이다 다이몬드 이니 지지라네 대소 림보체 히브츠데기도 마토 상제기 림보체 츠사데 난조 그 미기 류텐데 림보체 츠간두스.
So we as ordinary people, we look as something very precious, like jewelries, like external things, like diamonds and gold and ornaments, and so we tend to consider them as something very precious. However, Lord Buddha looked life as a very precious, not those external things. So Lord Buddha considered our life as a very precious thing.
제장 대인도 안서 그 멀리대 자첨부 희부지체 대념들 나랑서 장준 좀비 남시 생에데 디스 통면면다 주연아 코세보소야 연조체 된대게 대체운데 잠반에 땅 나랑서게 멀리 자첨부데 배적 간데제 땅다 마땅해야 됐다 문에 개체기도 작도스.
So having a precious life is not enough. One, we need to look at it. How are we going to spend our life? How are we going to invest in that precious life?
근데 제원도 잠반에 탐 미친디 개첨부 효래 하스 미친디한 끼고도 잠반에 나랑서 미친디를 수소를 zupola 대당 소소 남이당 직 고유당 참말을 고야돼 직 대징안에 제고여 봐서 대 개첨부 찍으셔스.
So 미친디 제고를 찍었어.
미친디 제고로와 미친디 대지지가 안에 제고여 봐서 미친디게 튠지도서대 개첨부 효래 하스.
So since we need to live a comfortable life and happy life, so our conditions of this current life is very important as well.
제장 다 뒤초지를 내온데 잠반에 아니 나랑서 메다 마소나 단다가 뒤초야 조 찬조되다 도스 산노지 땅인데 잠반에 뒤초지 내온데 잠반에 간서 미센디 샤네 로고에 뒤초지 용고여레스.
So well, our life we need to invest in our life and make every efforts to make it meaningful. But one thing we need to realize is there will be a time will arrive where we have to depart. We have to leave our and depart.
제가 다 남서 덴바실로 로존 쟁에 미지게 상로 땅인데 잠반에 상로 가르코고도 세바이나 소소 우체가 뒤철레로 제뒤 잠반에 가르 텐사레스나 첸데기 데지기 체도로 소소그 샤워 루기안조다 타키 제산조 되게 딱 데지 루야게 체도 샤워진 당거 매바데 테네 하콘사레스.
So when anyone who comes to breathe their life, their last, and then you reflect, and you will realize like whatever you have done was not enough. Hardly anyone will be satisfactory for the things, the works that they have done to make their own life happy in the current life.
오, 근데 임바 송장 나랑 속에 다지 뭐네 물리자 전부 니케 이제 물리자 전부데 다 가르기 쳐도 차시 땡고고도 세나 센데야 되지 그 안에 제투야지다 자리지 당 대다 냠돌라 나랑 속 남시되는 가두이놓고 윤림보다 도선 로데 연조지 임바 송장 다 배드 동에는 타야기 되지지 부야기 배제 따야 돼. 다 미친들 야지 춘이어서 말했어.
So we prepare, and whatever we do our current life, but at the same time, as you know, when we passed away, our consciousness, our spirit will be moved to the next. And then we also need to think of the ultimate happiness. So what is the ultimate happiness? Not only the temporary, the current, the short-term happiness, but we also need to consider the long-term happiness.
Oh yeah, 제장 근데 제운데 잠반에 아는 안한 속에 땡도 동에는 타비 타빠셔야지. 고den해야지. 덴바 시그나니 덴바 송바데. 대 용아 여러베스 말한서 샘데 가두이나 직 냐게 용연다고다 직 뇨다나로 취된죠로다 상해승에나로 취된죠 던데 마인바체 샘데 가두이나 시슈도아지 뭐네 다네지 nanka yata sayi dota sewa tenangi ke zangma zangjan chi ta yungya yorebes siya de ngaranzo ne samtangwe peke chenpo chagdus.
And we have to think about the truth of the path that leads to the cessation of the suffering, and how we will achieve that. Is it a possibility?
Teda nyamdola ane semdi tende zangmaji chasona ane lula ya dungye zawani ne meba kaddu ina dechi jangjang yungdeyage ta taba seyade topsona de chago yorwa ta tendeji kande yungre yungtuya yorwe seyade ta nganzol zwa chenpo chago yores.
Yeah. How to achieve that enlightenment, the ultimate happiness? So the ultimate happiness is where you have a complete peace of mind and mental peace and happiness without any of physical the sufferings.
Di indu anu nganzo kaduina Geshe de tambo ne samode kartangun sana nganzo metsende militsa chembo di ta chik dos jene zamulin de ganglo dos leundu soso ke tadigi nedam te dechi yore ngaranzo pemesi kibore de dechi de kaduina dunge da nyamdu dos jene drede njodochi nyamdu dos jene tete tangshan jodochi yinde ba de tanganzo nyoi thol tu de orwas.
So our current life, there's happiness in our current life, joy, and at the same time there's suffering. So it's a combination of both happiness and sufferings of our life itself.
Tende indu zambane cheza tangaram chungune tane denshila tus sano tayunde ne junre singetela judan rebuk tutang ke sano seate matang rantan chagoyo resta.
So when we study Four Noble Truths, we invariably have to study the cause and effects and how that come into existence and play roles.
Tende indu ta dungye demba te rebo che nganso tambo ngaranso ngonchwe goya de che demba shige nane tambo de dungye demba sonrwa rebo de che ta ko yuna de nyugo de saben le che wanan shi ge juchi gogo yoba sonsa jotela ne jukunjung demba se ji ze chwe goya de nyanga tos chagodus.
Yeah, so first of all, understanding the truth of sufferings. And once you understand the truth of sufferings, then you need to understand the causes of the sufferings. So what is the causing that sufferings?
Tanganzo cheza those sanu tayon de nyugu che menjo de khande chagodo sena sabe mena nyugu che menjo chano do as. Pena pegenda waji shinra wodan zanda woda de mewa ina ju pegeji mewa ina me tuya mendo mewa ina to yuya mendo de nanshi ge ngaranson jebu de zame tangu na ju de zame tangu res.
So how we need to think of the cause and effects. So when there is no cause, there won't be effect. For example, when you don't sow, then there won't be anything for you to be reaping. And same thing like when there is no fire, there won't be smoke. So in order to avoid the smoking, then how you can ultimately get rid of the fires.
Chezang tende jodele hinju cheunde ta jukunjung semba demba singe de ngaranso namju ke ngaranso jutol yodeng ngaranso jule yodeng ngaranso kangye zo deng ke ta dasha kedan tumusong de chade yote sebo chagres.
So the causes of suffering is within us, the causes of the suffering. And so the causes of suffering is those three poisons that we all have within us, and that were the three causes of our sufferings.
Ta kunju demba ke meda masona pegela khate yona menade lamden de chagyores ta lamden de kunju demba tsame tange de chadeyores ta.
So the truth of the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, the eight these things, the fold path, that is the antidote to this our poisons, three poisons of sufferings.
달 군주 람덴데 군주 덴바 짬에 땅 토로 제바이나는 고덴 토데한다지 다 동엘에 베드 타르지니 데지세야지 다 땡아랑서 단단 도디지 헤데하게 덴실라 라운드지 제바이나 덴데지 차거도스.
Yeah. So this thing, the truth of cessation of sufferings, and that's how one leads to the others, and we reach to the ultimate goal.
근데 인데 제장다 덴바실라 도 뒤뒤는지 제바이나 덴바시 콜라 삼만당단데 먼저 덴데지 바구돌라 다 대나네 장 나랑서 그 힌주 제고사 아마 띵띵다보테 동해데 ngo시비게 토네 동해 그 죽근중 세야디게 만솔은 고고 가서스 땅거도 만소 단다바도 수왕 원은 로덴도 따사 연하면한테 때려야 하스.
So understanding the causes of suffering, that is the key thing. Like we all have been succumbed to the causes of sufferings.
Oh yeah. 다 근데 이용인데 잠반에 배낭안서 너무 도송가 나네. 나랑 속에 세휴하고야 돼. 공로대 하고 그랬어.
So of the three poisons, we have anger is something that is very, very obvious, and we all easily notice it.
공로되게 나랑 속에 소소라 집어 매봐 sö그 여바다. 공로되게 잼베게 소소그 류가게 샤죄라 때네 yenla 포도 땅와 yenla 포도 땅와라 때네 yen게 촌널레 레제네 라니라 포도로 대한다고 따뜻서 사마된 가랑서 통주스 두되어로 왔어.
So we see like the effect of the anger, how it disturbs our own mind and how it provokes others to react negatively to you, and so anger is one very obvious and one thing that's so easily we notice, and such a destructive emotions.
딱 공조 생에게 로데 전생 영에 니루 영에 딘디게 로지 레드웨스는 지 따당스.
So look at anger, and is this emotion a rational emotions and reasonable? When someone get angry, was it reasonable? Was it rational? That is something that needs to examine how we come to exhibit this kind of emotions.
Geshe?
Yes.
Yes. It seems that you could have sense enjoyment, such as being at a luxurious spa, and still be mentally unhappy. And at the same time, you could have an injured leg or something, and yet still have mental happiness. And I was going to ask the question, how do you cultivate true happiness that's not dependent on the senses?
Oh, this one the Kuranglayana that such susu jibu shu tang de baji such a pendi tunji chasang yo baji je ine dechi me baji tindri ne dan chungudus ine ya kamba cha kamba nazu ta shu chi tang ba ine yan sin le dechi ta ya chungudwa ngwe chungudwa tindi. So the question is how the sense can he say the question? I understood the examples he gave. What was the questions?
How can you cultivate mental happiness that is not dependent on the senses?
Oh, okay, thank you. So, choala matin pige ani seng dichi di condition chungu res la go. Bena shigungo bo shibuchi chane yan nang kanga che de chi da yan shig kanga hibuchi ne kamba cha nazu shibuchi bena yan seng di juwe tindi yung sig doas tani doshol ten baina. Then ani tanda choala ten magwe gi thoni nang dichi di condition chungu res.
las 제자 때 말아서 딜레는 것도 가르쳐고 시그 초와 생애 줘로와 초와 생애들 땡대게 되지디나 초와라 땡 쳇잖아 더박하야 면조지체 셈데 가두이나 용증이 제로 판로대한다고 지체 된대 이용데 잠반에 나라서 도 제은데 잠반에 소소가 산노치 다운데 잠반에 무엇보다 잘라다 돼서 당초지 제 다소소를 가도 강고 코고 여바데 대충초해 리데반다고 지체 아니 셈데 가두이나 나라서 셈데 용진나라 맞추와 이나 아니 대지 용대한다고지 나랑서 도스제네 소소 따다 하고 대한다지 유지레스.
So when our happiness is dependent on senses, then it will not be fulfilling. It will be not. It will be temporary. It will be temporary, and it will be not fulfilling. There's always wanting more and more, and and it also leads to a more confusion state of mind, confusion in the state of mind. And it is through contentment. It is through contentment that is a state of mind, like how one have a feeling of contentment that will lead to more happiness.
Neges tanda tos chene samdan de chepaina ngaranso semge dechi yam tapachi sosola chi tungu goena semde tachoboji gosares. 셈데 지 ngaranso 지 초와라 시그 초와당 대소라 땡데바 이나 지 대초게 지 준비기 대지 세고래 내가 그 당ngaranso 지 뇌농절라 소바 대소라 해워 할레 쳇다와 마임바 대소 베제는 땅데바 지 대소게 대지는 용데바 지 대소라 해워 할레 쳇다와 마임바 대소 매버지 소소게 원에 전에 짱칸다고 지나노라 도스 로초스 대구게나레 지 사야 동야가 자제보 마인 바체 사야 동야 단스 제네 페겔지 네원 바다고 지 리톰보다고 지가 사차 롱동다고 지나노라 도스 대제네 사노지 땅 제네 도스 지 대운데 참바네 르포데 대탕안에 여러 제바 인테나 사노데 지 콩초단 녀몽단 해당다 대초고 왕도 만로와 제네 도 제네 사노들 지 콘토와이나 tati karasegura sengi deji yakhede injir sangudos.
So another thing I would like to add to how to cultivate happiness without depending on senses is that you need to have a stable mind, because if you are so dependent on senses, then it will not lead to that happiness. Like you will be two extremes, like avoiding two extremes depending on external and all eternals. So having a stable mind will all ultimately, it is on the mind itself that will give you more happiness. For example, if you were put in jail like for 10 years, where you will have no the external luxuries or comforts, but if you have your mind is stable, is strong, then you can withstand the sufferings, withstand of both the inside and outside. So ultimately, it is your own spirit and the mind that will cultivate the happiness.
마랑소 그 시초와다 식무보라 땜베기 디지주여와 딜 윤림보 매와 네가 임바 땜보 매와 소소랑게 셈랑게 사노 땅네 최심비게 토네 디지주 중바 인테나 데 부장 링와 아네지 윤림바 땜바 요바디 지 하고투고에데 계침부르셨어.
So happiness based on external senses, like happiness based on senses, will not be permanent, will not be stable. However, if happiness that is cultivated based on one's own state of mind and way of attitudes toward life, that will be more permanent and everlasting.
So, ane tangi tuwa tingi choedup khurang ngene na charang la gonso kariya na chik sona he pondus.
So thank you for sharing that very important questions. So would you like to share what you think, what's your perspective on this, how to cultivate happiness without depending on senses?
Well, I think that renunciation helps. Like getting in the habit of renunciation seems to free one from being limited by the senses. But it's a gradual process. It's not like flipping a switch, but gradually developing more and more renunciation seems to help.
Kuni suna the renunciation slowly the koada teni jiwa, koada teni the jepaina, and it under the shik choala jie demagwe tony the chiwen. That's how ben Sanji Jondi do ben turning to Ajorwa. Did that the Kale injury, Lamsa the injury, Kale Chechini, the renunciation to Jepana, Koral Tobaina, Digi, when he sim nang dichi the Tini Meadows.
Chetan, Taran Tuchena, the Korang tapping wins in Sahias.
Thank you so much.
Godin the wins in Sahias.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So he truly understood the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. So he realized that, and that's very, very important. Thank you for sharing that insights.
Ane deta nyamdo tanda kama sonju si doa tende indi tangarang so chodo cho ngene chokana gonso sonya ta tewanda kariya na ti chegana marves.
So that was very timely interactions. And since we have another 30 minutes or so left, I would open it to the floor and let's have more interactions.
I have something to share, especially about well, not just anger, but dukkha, feeling unhappy. I had a very throughout my life there was dukkha, but I finally had an experience that was, I couldn't run away from it. And it was so bad that, yes, I ended up on medicine for it. But my way out was a compassion practice that I practiced every day. It didn't happen overnight, but I was able to take a very difficult experience and turn it into something that transformed me. And I did not feel so unhappy. Not only that, it really reinforced many Buddhist precepts along the way. So I developed a more profound relationship with many Buddhist precepts and practices. So I would encourage anybody to find a practice or find something you can do every single day that really reinforces renunciation and also kindness and compassion, which is a very fundamental Buddhist precept. So that's what really worked for me. And that's all I want to say about it. Thank you.
Kuri di sonsa tanda di ko pagachi le machiwa tandi jong yungswa ani machiwa tandi jongbo matse maintain gwe tandi ne sa jong sons ta ini kuri ge compassion practice se gi tanda di janyin ji ge nyanglen je ji mo ji je song sin sons ani di je wala tenji ni ani kurang ge benjo chenbo ji teji ni ani digi pento jongsons ani tanda de nyangni cheba janginji nyangni cheba digo ta nambi gi tadu da yiza mambuchi la tende ba tindida uchi chabdus din du kurang ge ta mi chamal la de janginji se ji nyangni je di tindiga junto ni la ni ta tu ba na pe pento chimodus
tagara tanda di nge digana samsun nembe ti ji hye de kariyo sana Kongi nyamnyong ka kecha che te kangla ngarang so same truya de kanjin chugu do te ngepa do samush tangu do ngarang so machi ba yung de da same truya de kanjin chugu do same 현자야 de 헐러 je de kanjin yung do te so so ke nyamhi chebe thone so so ke same so so lo yor wa hi te yo de nyamhi ji jene te ha ko jebge de kechem bo pere de has tan da kon so na ge.
Thank you so much for sharing that life experience. It's very important. And while talking that, one thing I would add is that we need to examine how our mind is disturbed. What is the cause of our mind be disturbed? And then when our mind is settled and calmed down, and then how it leads to that. So examining and understanding those two would also help us.
Those down the Zambane sing Dachada Kundro Nide, Nyanga Tsakyu Nide, Denigalan Guju Tang in the Ma Gucha Tang in the Naranzo Nilulo Mumding, Hamogong, Maripa singete, Langja do Torja Hamogong, Maripa singete, Deni in Bade, Tanganzo and the Hinjuji Cheda Hakwa.
So if you examine how we come to show anger, how our anger arises, and then at the same time how our desire come to us, how the desire arises, how the anger arises. So if you examine closely those two things, it is all due to the ignorance. So it is because of the ignorance that it leads to those two biggest poisoners.
Control singing a lot in the Chitang de Zamane, Sansanji Jene, Control Sasa, the Petarin Hivajitane, Dremetangi, Soso than Dremetangi Hivajita Jene, but the Soso the Patarin Tangi Logi Redures. Dacha singing in a young Yeraji Che Jene, Suji Droop Jene, by the Misik Hivaji Peland or several pet. So
anger is something that pushes you further away from your own individuality or your personality. It really creates such a distance from who you are and then what is the anger itself. So you push you so far away from yourself. Whereas desire is something that's brings you to something that's very, very specific, so closer and so narrow and then so specific. So one is pushing you so further away, one is so through clinging, like through attachment, which you can kind of avoid other than holding to it.
That then Manson Dachada Kundroni Jelen Rochene. Koranic Samba Nanshinke, Koranic Temba Nanshike, Tanda de Ganso, Druya Yorwe, Druya Yorwes, and Tus Hinjuji Chekota, do nine Druya Menjochi.
So, if you follow your grasping, or if you follow your desire or your anger, will there be possibility to fulfilling? Will achieve everything, or will that be fulfilling? Then the answer is absolutely no. So those two are the wrong choice. Even though those two are so extreme, but the ultimate answer to how, if you just scamper to it, if you follow it, will it's going to fulfill your ultimate desire or ultimate being wishes, then it will not. It is not the answer for that.
Konik Godan the Chatan in room may on the Zambane, and Konik jail and rondo chene, Tametacho del Konik Godan the Chatan so drew and may on the Zambane, and a Dujon the Caragas and the Soso Tametacho del and a Majiba yon dead.
So if you give in yourself to anger, it will not fulfill your anger. And the same thing, if you give in to grasping, it's not going to
지 아니 희대원다 지 세상산도 지 용대부터 다 전용대도 왔어.
So the one who shared earlier the experience. So it is the compassion and loving kindness. The more you giving to them, and then the better experience, the better would be resolve it will create in you, and the more determinations and the happiness and the good results. So this is the antidote to the earlier to anger, grasping, whereas compassion, loving kindness. So that's how it works.
아니 간서 상지 고랑랑 게 가르송 열었으나 शुरू 그 다시니 뭔지 지금은도 ngaran son rowa mi senje nangkul ngaran so min dawo chi chaba ina nge drobo sene phaji sha nge dawo sene phaji sha nti ngunji chego rama to yang ta be lan thar chim bi sanji ina semje chama dewan deba ta dunge mon deba chi chung dane senje chama ranya yimba ma to chi ge dra sene phase tharing si ya chi ta chi andi ke yera chede de zawne ne mandus.
So Buddha himself have never external enemy. So Buddha himself look at everything as on an equal footing. So he has no doesn't distinguish this and that on that basis.
O tesam tang thoro chena ngamso khunji rangshi ke shinro sarala khunji mebaina semde mise ke shiwa yimba ta ngamso sebo ha ko res khungtho de mena.
Yes, so if we have no external enemy, then we will have no resentments. And when we have no resentment, then it definitely leads to more peace of mind and kindness.
Chesan tende yimba sonta ta drangwene de sore sene hinju cheunde rangla nöche jinge yenla nöche jinge de nang nyomung ba seando ta sem mahi ba mongba ta ane rangi kun lo dunge tenge de nang kunhu ni yimba de ta ngamso sebo ha ko yimdos.
So the true enemy, what is the true enemy? Then we have to realize it is not the external things. So it is the three poisons that we all have within ourselves. Those are the true enemies. Once we realize that, we are at a better footing.
Tan zambuling dikala ngarang so thonchu su tu de te mere ni ke kontro ko wangke ane ped lumba khurang la mantu lan de lumba khurang la moge he de chi pugu chunjun de so chama yin ni je phama to so chi 파마다 보고 카텐로야 자르버에 뭐 상해싱에 잠불린 디간 레데 차상데 컨트롤 그 메레니레 그 컨트롤 레기여 버든 감서 세보 하고도 왔어.
So it is obvious the sufferings that what the world is witnessing is all due to the results of one or two individuals' anger. So the anger that leads to all those sufferings.
라서 다 되네 춘주지 효초아지 컨트롤 예미된 감소 그 망보 통고도 서와 단 대차가 예미데 통 투고 문돌라 레라버지 대차 생에데 로 유주 차버지제 코단 재원이 빠라로 노르데에게 년가 효도스 농에 망보레스타디.
So the anger is pretty obvious and easily to notice, and it is exhibited and shown. However, attachment, the second poison is attachment, right? Attachment. And the attachment is sometimes mistaken as a love and some closeness. So
근데 용도 내게 언제 전에 나랑서 지 휴야지 가려서나 대차 생에 때 언제 따데도 잠만에 오늘로 selfish लग도 하던데 인지치도네 rang chedo rang jinzi rang chedo rang dusi shung ga chane da cha del da du dusre de has.
So the attachment is all about self. It is a selfish attitudes.
Ben cha sha ba ina sa sang ina re phomo phinsu paru le ina re 가르세나 파효데 소소근 되던 두바이나 야부지한다고 소소리 야부제나 야부지한다고 어느 소소그 로다 참반다고지 베게 따단다고지 소소 이두원한다고지 든지고 고유다고지 중바이나 야부지한다고지 베게를 차대한다고지 계시 소소를 좀 문팅반다고다 소소다 만들반다고지 소소는 더 바강할 때지 마중바이나 대사가 돈이 콘로 째려야지 Tenditawa ina selfish ngone redwas.
So how attachment is selfish is because when you are attached to, when you have that attachment, it ultimately dependent, everything is dependent on your own benefits or for your own interest, for your own happiness and so on. So anything beyond that, then it leads to anger and so on. So it is for one's own fulfilling. It's a very selfish kind of attitudes.
Bena ngandawachi ina tisano kogodes pomo pinsu parulo chapandawachi chagyabaina. Podawachi pomo chile gabo hiyobaina. Geshe lobur tojaga pode pomo del gabo tangaramso nanju yondak zewa sede zewa de imba chagyabaina. Geshe pomo del lobur tojaga mejuendawachi hyojene domba tsama tsigene cholandowa ina him mahiwache zubo del hajene mejuendawachi hyowaina. So
the question is like in real life, if there's a couple, if there's a relationships, in a love relationships, if the boy loves the girl so much and so attached to this girl, and then certainly something happens to that girl, and the girl's face or the body is burned and became disabled and so on, will that boy will still continue to love the girls in the same way? So therefore, attachment is like more like a conditional love, whereas true love is unconditional.
That did you when you enjoy pomo de domba massive when the zewa yanta baji Domba Tsivi Jella Zewa de Tando Hapar to Yam Pagene, Col Ropa Karche Godo, Col Chaya Semso Kande Tango Godo. Ane Col Chick Twinji Lunga Yisong Chani Twinji Kande Jogodo, Tendichen Pa, Tando Pangone Tanier Lores, Zewanedina.
So if it was a true love, then when the girl met with that tragedy, then the love will still multiple. The boy will tend to do more. Now she's under such a situations, and he will be very forthcoming and so on. So it will be amplified. Now it is where when she needed the help and the love the most. So therefore, a true love will be in that way in most sense.
Tendici di zamane da chadang zewani parala shu chenbo ge cheba yoba jita. Tando nge samlo jik kar kogu dusena. Manso pama kashi bugula zewa ngone yore zewa yang tabare de. Tinanglo la tando dizin dachan dewe namba chi chodo chigi dus. Susok selfish chi ledo chigi chonang chi yungu dus. Kanyi sena pama kashi ge bugu di ngala kaya po nyengi du. Bugu di ngala yapo chigi du la del pa shangbo shiu che de chi. Bugu digi nga khala nyenge mendo bugu digi karase kura chi nge chashi timba nangshi chi rogu mendo sene nga la khalen logo dulane yame tanya dinde chi yongdo chi dos til chinju chi che unde tipara dela selfish this mendo samsachi.
Yeah, so even parents-child love or relationships is also can be viewed from the attachments part as well. And sometimes parents says love one particular child over another child purely because this child is very nice and very helpful to me, and then the other is not. So in that way, it is a kind of a conditional love or selfish from the point of view of this true love. And so whatever the parents makes ever the parents happy, then the parents tend to show more love. Wherever, if things goes differently from what the parent desire or wish, then the parents tend to show less love. So in that way, it becomes an attachment. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to read.
I'm sorry. So it's the three poisons are anger, attachment,
Ignorant.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
tanda ignore la de mariba de do checham ngaran so mariba se de dashanyam do la yodi hindu control nyam do la yodi hindu kanda lo shinji lo ju yorwa lo ngaran so thul thiding negative thoughts la do hi khozo nyam do la mariba ye ban ro chi khozo nyam do mariba ye chene ana ngam so ngene langa de thoma ju chin drip chene ana ngam so yang lo chung ju do sam sam ro chi.
Yeah. Because ignorance is the worst of all those things. Like it's the ignorance that leads to more anger. It's the ignorance that leads to more attachment. It's kind of the root causes of all the things.
What did it say? Oh.
Please, if anybody here in this room has questions, comments, Barney?
Yeah, I hope people can hear me online. When Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and attained enlightenment, he realized the Four Noble Truths. And later he taught them to his first disciples, and they also realized enlightenment and became arhats. Now, when the Buddha realized the Four Noble Truths, was that his complete enlightenment entirely? Was it a part of his enlightenment? Or was it merely a teaching that came out of his enlightenment?
On this one, the Sanji Jondi the Sanje wala, that Buddhi tree wala Sanje, and it tanda Demba Yichilaya Churwa, the Ani Krang Karsari Loba lo Kortambu the Lo, and Kontambu to the Consul Leza the Kranzo Ahati and a Chicharis, Dajum, the Chesadi, Anitanda the Sanji Jondi dig. Tanda di demba shi di kurang nguenzia da lo jea di san je tsawi ki je le rebe san je jimbi ki kaso rebe ani di ngwe le rebe kandi resi di ki kongrun rabo chiyo di kandi resi.
Tagaran brother tuje ches, thank you brother. Che zang di yorwa ngarang so san je le langa Solam, Jolam, Tolam, Golam sila. Gongsa choke kaduyina teyata, gate, parangate, parasangate, bodhi soha aslan. Te indi chambane, demba shi la labya de ta demba shi shinguya de sanji ke langal roduni shingu gudus. Te ngarang choke indi shinju chene rob zang shiya de Papik lang mato ngel shin lo dos chok lang da jowi lang kasne tang wene chane ke hit sa hyun ro de pa se tin din ro de ngarang so ke pen tu sta ba ina changma dongbol ta na shi changma dongbo thon na gi de ka du thong go do sen da demba shi ni lu de phalang thop du papi lang thop du papa cha du hing dos ana tene ne demba shi de gom chene ngarang so tanda shamba da chewa gom chene Kunduma, Jago, and Namshi Chene, Dembashi the Gom Chene, Demshil Nilula, those Shinjuche, Kunju Dembeki, Chuan, that Dunge Dembeki, Chuan, Gom, Lamdenga, Yenten, Tangodenga, Yenten, the Yak Gom Chene, Ane, Dunge Demba, the Kunju Demba, the Same Kadu Tontusan, and a Sam Jebata, Shingu Channing around so Yonda Teres.
Sanji Kuranga Kadu Demba hit Kadu Mochibares.
Chezang Will Moshingur, some Majib Will, Chasam Rotan, Langa Tagarata.
Yes, so Buddha, for the enlightenment, there are several stages. There are several stages for the enlightenment. You go through the stages. And so the short answer to your question is that you need to realize the Four Noble Truths before the enlightenment. So this realizing this Four Noble Truths will help you, enable you in reaching this enlightenment. And if I didn't get it, if I get it correctly, Buddha understood the Four Noble Truths even before he became enlightenment. Sanji sam majingule tanda di dembahidung
shingore
yes, he realized that.
Yeah, dembashi de sam majingule ngor shingu shima sam mache ko gomne ane ma nyomute so rinjin rin ane samji esedi.
Yeah, so not only you understand the Four Noble Truth and perfectly understand, and then you meditate on it, and then you realize on it.
Like in a brother Burlig Tova Nankichin, Nala Tova Catalegation, Samjin Zambalin de la Perwa, Sanjin Zambalin de la Page, Lodukawa Che, and a Shatanga Naranto Koran Jabog Puin Becasola Zoripatan repeat net of Solomon was Jamna. Yinaya, Samjik Demba Yede, Jansa Sutal Jambare, Gigin Sutembare, Kandichin Jambare, Siate, Naltuaj Lady Dus.
So, one of the questions that I have is like, he meditated for 6 years, and then Buddha himself also underwent sufferings, and then finally when he realized this Four Noble Truth, who taught him the Four Noble Truth, or how he realized these Four Noble Truths? That is the question that I have. Sanji Juni de Kurang Demba Yid Kandisi Winsi.
Oh, Demba Yid Kandisi Himbare, Sulatin Himbare, Kandi Jambare, say
how he learned, how he, who showed him the Four Noble Truth, and where he came with that Four Noble Truth. That is the question that I have in mind.
So Neka to a Chunchunji Kantita, Hinjuji, Hinjuji, Chetuba, and Hulnanga Mambo Hiach.
Yeah, so if we contemplate on that questions, it would also lead for us to understand many things.
Would it be correct to think that the Four Noble Truths are the Four Noble Truths of our phenomenal impermanent nature? And by going through a process of looking at all these different phenomenal mental activities, mental appearances that we have, and seeing that they themselves are empty of their own true nature, that one comes to a conclusion of, through logic, of the Four Noble Truths, that we are chasing things, and if we stop chasing these things, that we will lead to an enlightenment, an awareness, and that there is a method, that there is a pathway in order to do that. So I think the point that I would make is that it seems to become self-evident. It becomes within oneself. The wisdom is within ourselves. And if we can control all the noise of all the phenomenal nature, all the impermanent stuff, then that wisdom rises right up, because that Buddha nature, what we call Buddha nature, is within us. And but it's blocked up. If we can remove those blockages, that wisdom becomes apparent to all of us. We all have that Buddha nature.
And it's like the singing bowls. You know, if we just listen, take the time, everybody understands. It's very obvious. It's only four. It's not many, you know, and just by observing, you can see that they're obvious, yeah.
Ranju Hinjo was resting.
This one, Brother Lance Consul, Chitang and Suki, Hipa the Yores, and the Jishin the Demba Hidi, Tindilan and the Guanamena, Demba Hidi, Toya, the new padding and Sul Yode, need the Tumsha Yores.
Tagara,
the Tumsha, the Ani, the Tunipa, Kachi Chetu Baina, and equal the Totoeg, new bad leg of one.
Tagara.
Exactly, so that is a very good example.
Cheta telling around Zota Naranzo Giging Getul Lavanan Hinch Yorwa, Nanso get Tung de Wache, Mong de Wache, the Imbasonza Tati Lamtun Ching in the Wachi, Lam in the Wachi, Penalty the Yordas in it, Saja Sabatil, Namso Saja Tomanu, Saja Chick, Tongo Guanachi, Tambuting in Zondachi, this Zondachi, they think on Sota Gigins and Rotata.
So exactly, so that is how the teacher comes to consider it as important. So it is like the destination is there, it is there, but the students need a guide need a guidance to show, to go there, to get there. And so that's how the teacher comes to play important factors, guiding.
Is the teacher external or is the teacher internal?
The Gela de Susuk non yoba gi ting rebe yang shigi res like.
The Pemasiapo. Chezan, Daja Tomba Haja Tuba, Karasong Yando Sena, brother Lens Gunsuna Gichene. Dani Dag and Gwen, Dani Dag Drying, let a neighbor chapel, Dani Dag, Pambo Insine, that till Quahu Chat has Chanamaso.
So that's extremely thought-provoking questions. What Buddha said is, you are your own enemy, you are your own saviors. And so in that way, it has to be like within yourselves, right? And last the kadle, Dani Dangwe and then Dangjoy.
Let a Nyampa Chebala, Yawa Chebata, do Yadu Kar Chebaina, Suso Pambu Munetrata.
Yeah, so it is the individuals we have, you are doing right or you're doing wrong, you are own self-evidence. You are the self-evidence of it's like our conscious.
Yeah.
So it seems so dependent on the individuals. Like everything is on the individuals.
Ngaranzo mi pepa ina yabu cheba ina suso jese ran jegruata di yonda su ha ko suna didi goro. Ta ngemba ji jesuna kashi suso rangi ngocha di gwenda uchi jibodo de. Ina ya te ta melhe no ngocha gresene sawa che di gwenda uchi. Nganzo mi pepa la sawa yotarwata sanji to sol sawa chun yota samare just.
So for us individuals, we all have our own privacy or secrets, right? And we all also have our consciousness, like we can't tell lies. If we do good, we are very happy, but if we do good, we try to hide it. But our consciousness is always there, just kind of prompting us what we have done wrong or right.
Tene brother landscape song na kitchen ta suso ga gegen suso gun suso ga tap yona mena de suso ran re de has ina ya ta tel ngaran so suso la ya meta ma so na so saka tenyen da wochi shege ngaran so ani chani kun sho song se la ba na ye ge gendu kun sho senanda na sanje kun sho senanda ke chim chag dos.
Yeah, so it is definitely so dependent on the individual's willingness and the individual's eagerness and enthusiasm. And then at the same time, the individuals, depending on the individual selves, the kind of help they needed. And so therefore, there's the triple gems. And that's their guide and that's where they get the assistance that they needed.
So would it be true then to say that the external teacher is a guide to show us that there is a pathway, but each individual has to follow that pathway for themselves? The teacher can't do that.
This one would then the chug gala the tap in Lamdun of Shiniche. Ani langa de teniche ta ine langa de ndoyani di ko getu dran chegmato
tagaran tuje ches tadi chezan sanje ge tuna dupa chui mu chuhin roi dong chage mesela ni je toba gen la pomi des chuni demba tembe tor jo sona yi tanda de cheg son sa tuje ches.
Yes, so you summed up one very important precepts teachings of Buddha. So he said, Buddha, he himself can't cleanse your sins. Buddha can show you how to do it, but you have to clean up your own sins and things. And I can't clean you, I can't take you there, I can only do is to show you the path.
For this, I think we can say like Buddha is like a doctor, he can give you medicine. But if you don't take it, you will be sick.
Yes, that's also very good comparisons, examples. Yes.
Tagaran toche Sanji member che, men de tea che, men de sa che ne try de che maji de suso la payo che. Te se digdo ga.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy. Yes.
That thing also demba shege 마 월 고린 질레면 티강 질레.
A few minutes before we break for lunch, but, you know, when we take our lunch break, you know, if you're thinking of questions, you're thinking of comments, that when we come back from our lunch break, we'll start with a little bit of a discussion to get everybody, you know, involved and let everybody be thinking about that.
nga tsu di dini kala di jela tsu yung chini this month's discussion chinas.
라서 빼면서 야본도 투지체스. 로제 빼면서 라도.
Does anybody online, on Zoom, there's a number of people there, anybody have any comments or questions that you'd like to speak about right now? Okay, well then, thank everybody for coming, we're gonna take our lunch break now. So, if we can, we'll do a short dedication by simply, Om. 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 May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones for the benefit of all sentient beings. Thank you.
야본도 투지체. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy lunch.
All right, we'll see you all at 2:00. Thank you. Tashi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you?
I can hear you. I can hear you in the background. It's not super clear.
Right. Yeah, well, there's only one microphone and it's at the front of the room for Geshe.
Okay.
But you can hear him and you can hear Dorje. Okay, is that correct?
Yeah, Geshe-la and Dorje-la come through crystal clear.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. All right, we'll see you all at 2:00. Eastern
right.
Time, 2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay.
Restroom is down there, anyone use?
What's that?
Restroom?
Oh, yeah. Restrooms up the, in the house up there.